Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here and to have been elected by the Oklahoma Bar Association as president. Things that have happened in Oklahoma are putting us in a time in history when we as lawyers must promote and uphold public confidence in the judicial system. We must educate the public that there are three branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch. In preparing today, I had a flashback to judges that I've known who had a big impact on me. And I thought about Justice Alma Wilson, who served on the Oklahoma Supreme Court and who did a fantastic job as a justice. Her opinions are well written, articulate, and I think about Justice Wilson from the standpoint of her being a real lawyer who was on the court, and I think about things that happened during the time that Justice Wilson was on the court. I tried a case in Oklahoma County, swimming pool diving case, and we got a $2.25 million verdict, and the judge said my conduct was outrageous and that if I didn't agree to a remittiture to $1 million, he was going to grant a new trial. Really hurt my feelings and made me wonder. It was one of those times when you wondered, which planet do I live on? And I hadn't done anything, in my opinion, that was improper. So Tom Wallace wrote the appeal brief, and Justice Wilson wrote the opinion. And in that opinion, she said there was no error in the trial court by the lawyer, and the verdict is reinstated. And the last sentence, I think it is, of the opinion, she says, the trial judge is not the 13th juror. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And after that, I got to thinking about a lot of these things. I was close friends with John Doolin and got to talk to him about a lot of things, and he taught me a lot. He was my father-in-law before he died, and Justice Doolin had a big impact on inspiring me to do the right thing and to never misrepresent the truth or never misrepresent the law to your judge, your adversary, or the jury. And I later met Justice Robert R. Rose, who's Chief Justice of the Wyoming Supreme Court. Got to know Justice Rose, got to be involved with the Western Trial Advocacy Institute for 30-some years with Justice Rose and with Justice G. Joseph Cardine. They were judges that really helped teach me what was going on when they're in an appellate position and how important it is that we have judges that are competent, credible, and honest. All of you know about the Oklahoma Supreme Court scandal that happened back there in the 60s. I was in high school, and Mary Ann Miller's dad was my high school history teacher. He talked about the Supreme Court scandal at least 25% of the time, maybe 30% of the time, and would inspire us that as citizens, we don't put up with that. At that time, the Judicial Nominating Commission was created, and the Judicial Nominating Commission has put on the bench good appellate judges ever since, and we as lawyers, citizens of Oklahoma, need to stand up for the Judicial Nominating Commission. Movement is afoot right now by different entities wanting to abolish the Judicial Nominating Commission and turn it back into having appellate judges elected. Since the adoption of the Judicial Nominating Commission, we have had no appellate judge sent to prison for bribery or tax evasion. In 66 and 65, along in there when the blow-up occurred, We had 3 Supreme Court justices sent to prison for bribery and for tax evasion at different times. We need to remember that it is our duty as lawyers to promote public confidence in the judicial system and to stand up for the judicial system. There are budget cuts. We live in a dangerous time. We live in a time when all across our country we have the impact of the Citizens United States Supreme Court case, which allows unlimited campaign contributions by political action committees. How do we have a rule that allows unlimited campaign contributions by PACs? What will that do to America in the future? How will that impact us? We as lawyers have to stand up for the courts and defend the judicial system of our government. We swore to do that. We need to do it. And we need to start here today and vow we're not going to back down, and we will not let PACs control our government. What will we do about it? Zephyr Teachout, professor at Fordham Law School, will come to Oklahoma on April Fool's Day and will give a lecture at OCU Law School, which is a continuing legal education lecture, where Zephyr Teachout's dad is the constitutional law professor at University of Vermont Law School. Her mother's the district judge that sits there in the town they live in. So she kind of grew up in an environment where I'm sure at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they're sitting around there talking about what's constitutional, what's not, or, legal issues. Teachout wrote a book, Corruption in America, that traces the history of our country and how campaign contributions have impacted the way that legislation's created. Teachout has traced that history in a way that it causes me to think we need to rally and we need to do something. We need to protect public confidence in the judicial system. In the book that Justice Berry wrote about the Supreme Court scandal of the 60s, Justice for Sale, and the book's out of print, but you might be able to find it at a used bookstore or online somewhere. And I want to thank Renee DeMoss. Renee was one of my predecessors. Renee's back here. Renee did more to help me understand what's going on and what you need to do as a bar president. And I want to thank David Porch. Couldn't have 2 better people to help you understand the way things work and what a lawyer's responsibility is as president. When Teachout comes to Oklahoma, I hope that all of you can go to OCU and hear what Teachout has to say. The other thing I want to do as president of the Oklahoma Bar is have a Juror Appreciation Month where we let the public know that they are a part of the third branch of government. And when they come to that courthouse and they serve on that jury, they are the Constitution in action. You go back and read the history of the Constitution and how we got there and how jury trials were important. And I'm not going to go off into detail on that, but in 1787 at the Constitutional Convention, it broke up because they had a disagreement on whether they're going to put the right to trial by jury in criminal cases and civil cases in there. And then, according to the historians, Madison went to the back rooms and got everybody to agree to ratify the Constitution if there could be a Bill of Rights. And then we had it. Sixth Amendment, trial by jury in a criminal case. Seventh Amendment in civil cases. And where are we in history today? We need to remember that the judicial branch of government is that branch of government which is there to serve a government, as Lincoln described it in the Gettysburg Address, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So let's vow as lawyers that when we go out of here, we're going to stand up for our oath and stand up for the courts and protect the courts and never back down and never quit. Thank you for having me.